What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dissect That Film podcast, where we dissect your favorite films, film franchises, and soon-to-be TV. I am one of your hosts, Brett Parker. Down there somewhere is DNA Gaming, consisting of Dan and Angela, and returning for some episodes, well, for the foreseeable future, is my brother from the same mother, Adam Parker.
Did you guys hear a bus?
Yep. No, I'm just giving him. He's my brother. I can do that.
Oh, I understand.
Today, we are reviewing our second film of Spooktober, Beetlejuice, Angela's movie of the month. This movie was released March 30th, 1988, with a budget of $15 million, which was quite a lot of money for a movie like this back in 1988. But it grossed over $70 million at the box office, so it was somewhat of a success. I don't know if you would consider this an indie movie, because I believe this was only Tim Burton's second theatrical film after Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And then, of course, with the success of Beetlejuice, he would go on to direct Batman in 1989 and Batman Returns in 1992, plus a bunch of other movies, Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, Sleepy Hollow, which is a movie I'd want to review on this show because that movie is so good, and it's a hidden gem for Tim Burton.
Yes.
And it's got one of my favorite actors of all time. You don't like Tim Burton?
I'm not a big Tim Burton fan, no, but I like Sleepy Hollow.
His later stuff is where I start to get lost, where I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting over this. But he is directing the Netflix show Wednesday, which is about an adult Wednesday Addams, which is supposed to be coming out sometime soon. I don't know the exact release date on that, but I'm very excited about that. I've always been a big fan of Tim Burton, to be honest. I think his movies are so wacky. Come on. He created Nightmare Before Christmas as one of the greatest movies, in my opinion, of all time. Angela can attest to that. It's a fantastic movie. It wasn't directed by him, but it was from his mind. But today, we're not going to talk about any of those films. Today, we are talking about Beetlejuice. Like I said, released in 1988. This was, I believe, Tim Burton's second theatrical film. It stars a very young Alec Baldwin. Man, every time I watch this movie, I am like, Alec Baldwin, wow, how have you changed over the years? Same with Gina Davis. Gina Davis, who is also in this, but the man, the myth, the legend himself, the one who stole the show, even though he was only in this movie for 14 and a half minutes, is the man who plays the titular character, Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton, which his next role would be Batman. Bruce Wayne, like, what a weird thing. Literally, like, to be honest, this is one of my favorite Michael Keaton roles, Beetlejuice, not Batman. I think he's a good Batman, but I think he plays Beetlejuice. It's so natural for him. Like, I feel like this role is just, he took it and ran, and he ad-libbed 90% of his lines, which is just insane. Very talented actor.
I had no idea.
Love him. In everything that he does, except for the movie that we talked about before we hit record on this episode, which is the movie White Noise. We're not going to go any further on that, but that's not a very good movie. Also, this movie stars Catherine O'Hara, who I'm a huge fan of. She did the voice of Sally in A Nightmare Before Christmas. She has done many other works throughout her career, but for people of this time, you know, she is most famous for being in Schitt's Creek, which is a show that just ended last year. She is fantastic. And there's another person in this movie, the father. I don't really want to talk about him much because he's a piece of shit. And Winona Ryder is also in this movie, and she's a Tim Burton favorite, especially in his early works. She was in Edward Scissorhands. She was in Heathers, which is not a Tim Burton movie, but I'm just naming some of the movies she's been in. And also for people, like I said, who watch, you know, modern TV, she's in Stranger Things, which is one of the most popular TV shows ever right now. So many good people in this movie, except for one.
No, you haven't watched it.
Because he's a dirtbag.
Well, I mean, like, legitimately, he totally looks like one.
Yeah, I mean, don't get
Like
me wrong.
100%.
He does I think his performance is good in this movie, but I don't want to get into any other things about him because
That's fair.
So yeah, like we always do on this show, we're gonna go around and talk about what we thought of this movie. I've seen this movie a lot. I know pretty much probably everybody here has seen this movie a lot, but let's go around and talk about what we thought. We're gonna start with Angela because this is her movie, so she gets to start off the
it's
conversation.
my movie.
Exactly.
What is there not to like about it?
Is that it? Is that all you got?
Is that it?
No, I mean, I'm dressed as Beetlejuice.
Yes. See, we told you last week that we had a surprise in store for you guys.
You can't really tell.
Alicia, she tried her best. She was gonna go a little bit more, but thanks Amazon or whoever was shipping your stuff. How dare
I got a shipping notification today. It says your costume is on its way. I'm like, yeah, it was supposed to be on its way last week. It's okay.
Keep going about your movie.
Oh,
Keep going about your movie.
I love it. I can quote like 75% of it just because my brain has gotten older.
No, it's kind of like me. It's just kind of fading.
Yeah. I don't remember everything. No, I love it.
Dan?
Watch it over and over and over.
I'm going to be the odd man
I know,
out, like
you
I
don't
said
like
last
it.
week. No, I didn't say I didn't like it. I'm not the biggest fan of this movie. It's okay, but I'm not a big Tim Burton guy. Like I get what his like dark vision stuff or whatever, but I just
Me, because I have.
I understand in this vibe. I just don't. I don't know. I'm not big on this stuff. It was okay. Like Michael Keaton was the best part of this movie, and even then, sometimes he was just like so over the fucking top. I was like, seriously, dude.
But I think that's the point of this character. I think that is what he's meant to be. Love it.
Excuse me. I like the concepts they deal with, like what the theme of the movie is essentially. Dead people, a lot living people. That's neat. But like as far as the film as it goes, I could take it or leave it.
Adam?
Oh, I like this movie. I mean, it's definitely the goofy, weird vibes I got that I remember when I was growing up. I guess the only thing I had, which you brought up, was watching it this time around. I did not notice how much he's really not in this movie. I mean, the name of the movie, he's not in it much. So that was kind of, I caught on to that more this time around.
I love this movie. Every time I watch it, it makes me laugh out loud. I love all the quirky. I mean, it's a Tim Burton movie. It's a quirky movie. All the characters are a little bit over the top. Michael Keaton just steals the show, even though he's not in this movie for very long. Every time he's on the screen, he steals the scene. And the fact that he ad-libs 90% of his lines, like that is just insane. And also watching this movie as an adult, you just realize that Beetlejuice is he's a disgusting.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
entity.
I guess if you're only in the movie for 15 minutes, you have a lot of extra time to figure out what you're going to say.
Yeah.
But he's a disgusting entity. Like anytime he is like just the whole interaction he has with Adam and Barbara when they first meet, and he is just trying to like touch her inappropriately, and he's like just saying like very sexist stuff. And even the scene at the end when he's like groping the magician's assistant there with just the legs, and he's disgusting. And it's so funny because people are just like, Beetlejuice is great. It's like, he sucks. Like he really does. In reality, he's a terrible person, even though he's not really a person. He's a ghost. I think there's so much more that I would love to see from this character too. I would love to know more, but I feel like it's not necessary though. Like you want it, but you don't at the same time. This is Michael Keaton's favorite film of his. He loves this character, and there's been talks about another Beetlejuice movie for years, and he's always been on board, but they just can't figure out the right script. There originally was a script for a Beetlejuice 2, which was called Beetlejuice Takes Hawaii or Beetlejuice Does Hawaii, and they had everything in the works. It sounds terrible.
It sounds awful.
I don't even know what the hell this movie was about. But I guess it got scrapped because Tim Burton was hired to do the first two Batman movies, Batman 89 and then Batman Returns. So it's scrapped. And then for years and years and years, it has always been thrown around that, there's a Beetlejuice 2 script floating around somewhere. I don't know. I think it's mostly that Tim Burton doesn't want to do it because this is one of those, in my opinion, and a lot of people who are fans of this movie, they're like, there are so many people that want a sequel, but I feel like just leave it alone. Just leave it be. We don't need it.
It just feels like the kind of movie that if they did another one, like what would you do to make it different that wouldn't feel like just doing the same shit all over again?
Exactly. Just leave it. Just leave things be. And I think, and to be honest, I'm happy with it. Michael Keaton is 70 years old now, but he could still be Beetlejuice. Like I feel like he could still go in there. I mean, he's still a spectacular actor in everything he does. And I think he could go right back into it and do it all over again. But yeah, just leave it alone. This is good the way it is. And it's been 1988. So what's that, like 33 years, 34 years? I feel like most of the time when you make a sequel after that many years, it's probably not going to work out well. Just look at Independence Day. Okay. Independence Day got a sequel like 20 years later, and that was a pile of dog shit. So just leave it alone. Yeah. So when Tim Burton filmed the Deo scene, so the dinner scene with the Deo song, he filmed it, but he didn't think it was going to work. He didn't think it was going to be very funny. He himself didn't think it was very funny, but test audiences loved it. And so it ended up staying in the film. There was so many casting, people like being thrown around, especially for Lydia. Heather Langenkamp, who plays Nancy in the Nightmare Before Christmas, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original.
Okay.
She was brought in to play Lydia, and she didn't want to play a goth girl, so she decided not to do it.
Oh,
right. So the actor who played Otho, he passed away in 2010, and the last song that was played at his service was that song from the dinner scene.
Yeah.
Angela, I'm going to ask you this trivia question since you are a big Nightmare Before Christmas fan. What character in A Nightmare Before Christmas does he do a voice of?
Does he do the mayor?
Glenn Shaddix. He is the mayor.
Hey, good job, man.
That's my second favorite character in the movie.
Yeah, and it's so weird though, because watching this movie and then the million times I've seen Nightmare Before Christmas, it sounds so different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Completely different. Where it just threw me off when I read that one time, and I was like, really? But it's Tim Burton bringing in, that's what he does. Like I said, Catherine O'Hara is the voice of Sally. And Danny Elfman, who is the composer for pretty much every single Tim Burton movie, composed this movie, of course, you can tell just from the opening sequence, but he does the singing voice of Jack Skellington in A Nightmare Before Christmas.
That he does.
I feel like we're going to be talking about Night Before Christmas on this, so we're going to that's the end of Nightmare Before Christmas.
Go!
Yeah. We're going to talk about that movie.
Talk about Beetlejuice anymore?
Yeah. We're going to talk about that movie at some point on this show.
I'm covered in Nightmare Before Christmas, so we have to do it at some point.
Christmas. Ironically.
Yeah. That's the great thing about Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a Halloween and a Christmas movie. It's great.
Yep. It's like a 3-month film. You can October, November, December.
Every day. You can watch it every day.
So
she does.
So Tim Burton was a executive producer for the movie Coraline. If you've ever seen the movie Coraline, which is a stop motion movie that came out in 2011 or maybe a little earlier. It's a great movie. It's kind of creepy for a kids movie. There's a doll that Coraline has. It's Lydia from Beetlejuice. Like her doll is it's supposed to be Lydia from Beetlejuice. Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched that movie too.
Yeah.
So Beetlejuice throughout the movie is spelled differently on everything. So on his tombstone and his cards and all of that, it's Beetlejuice, so Beetlejuice is, I think, just how he perceives it to be pronounced, or that's just how it's pronounced in another language, or like in English compared to what it is. But he's named after a red star in the constellation of Orion. That's what Beetlejuice is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So did you know that the Deo song was also called the Banana Boat song?
I think when you look it up, it says Deo, and then in parentheses says Banana Boat song.
So Harry Belafonte was literally the guy who, that's all they listened to in this movie. It's either you hear Danny Elfman's score or you hear a Harry Belafonte song. Throughout this entire movie.
A lot of that.
Throughout the whole thing, pretty much. Weird fact that I found, this was the first movie that Netflix sent out when it became a company. Like, this was the first movie you could get in the mail from Netflix.
All right, guys, you have one choice. It's Beetlejuice. That's it.
It was like
We
the
have
first
7
one they made
trillion
available.
copies.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I remember getting some of those before they went to a streaming service. We got some
Oh, yeah, we
DVDs and
used
stuff
to.
through.
I think I still have some that I never returned.
Yeah, they're gonna take it out of your ass in 20 years.
Like, remember back in 2011? I got shit Blade 1 and Blade 2.
Man, one of those, dude, man, Netflix back in the day when you got the DVDs in the mail before they had the streaming service was just, man,
That was an adventure.
I kind of miss it. Like, it was such a great part of my life, just being like, ooh, what movie are we getting now? And then you go on like their website and you create your queues and stuff.
I love when you get one and it doesn't work, so it's so damn scratched.
Oh yeah, you're like, oh boy, the mail's here, and you go out there and you're like waiting for Iron Man, and you get like Teletubbies live.
Oh
Damn.
God, I'm actually more excited about Teletubbies.
Oh, man. So according to IMDb, Seth Grahame-Smith, who wrote Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, and he also wrote the book Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Which the book is fantastic. The movie is okay. Read the book. Seriously. The book is awesome.
I have both of them.
He did a big screen review. He's worked with Tim Burton a lot with like with script rewrites and stuff like that. He did it for Dark Shadows, which is one of Tim Burton's weaker movies, which is one of his movies that only came out like 5-10 years ago. Supposedly he's working on a Beetlejuice sequel. Really nothing announced, really nothing too in-depth about it, but it still states that it is assumed that the script he's developing is not set in Hawaii like Tim Burton wanted. So that's good. We're not getting that Beetlejuice takes Hawaii like we...
Beetlejuice does Hawaii would be...
Or does Hawaii, yeah, whatever.
Beetlejuice
whatever
just
it
wants
was.
some nice weather.
Well, now it just takes place in Alaska. Like, okay.
All right, Dan, you're a car guy.
All right, let's hear it.
What kind of car do the Maitlands drive?
I don't know specifically the individual build code, but it is a Volvo wagon. I'm going to say it's like a 200, 240 wagon.
All right, what's the year?
Shit. Damn, the Volvos. They ran that body for like 15 years.
They really did.
They did. It was a long time on that body. I'm going to ballpark and say 76.
Ooh, you were a year off. 77.
Close. It's cool. It's a bitchin' ass yellow wagon, though.
Mm-hmm.
It was safe. Not safe enough, but it was safe.
Apparently.
They drowned in a puddle.
Volvos are allegedly one of the safest automobiles, so I don't know what you could take from that.
They just don't float very well.
They had no choice but to sink. The dog let them down.
That bastard.
I mean, I thought it was funny. My wife has seen Beetlejuice a lot throughout, her life, and she did not know until yesterday how they died. She's like, "Do you see them die?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
How do they die? What?
I mean, they come back in the house.
Hey, whatever.
So
it's all good. Anytime she questions anything, I just blame it on her pregnancy. She's so far into it. It's like her pregnancy brain just goes places. Like, it's okay.
60% of your CPU is processing building a baby. You're not running at peak potential. I've actually only seen this movie like twice.
Really?
Yeah, like a lot of my Beetlejuice like experience was watching the cartoon on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I watched that too. But this was...
Yeah, I've seen it like 2 times.
You're fired.
I don't feel like I missed anything, but carry on.
You're fired.
Beetlejuice says, I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. Gina Davis, who plays Barbara Maitland, later starred as Angela Rance, the adult Reagan McNeil, in the television adaptation of The Exorcist.
I didn't know there was a television adaptation.
And it's actually a pretty good show. It got canceled, but it did 2 seasons. But another funny thing that has to do with The Exorcist is that Linda Blair auditioned for the role of Barbara.
Really?
Who was the original Reagan McNeil in The Exorcist.
Yeah. That's cool.
Dudley Moore was considered for the role of Beetlejuice. That would have been interesting. You know who Dudley Moore is?
Sounds familiar.
He's a famous British actor from the 80s. He was... wait, is Dudley Moore British? Yeah, I think he's British. He was in Arthur. Man, yeah, you gotta ask me these questions now. All I know is he was a famous comedian in the 80s.
Keep talking.
Pull it up right here.
This would be Gina Davis and Jeffrey Jones appear again in Stuart Little. So Jeffrey Jones plays Charles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What did
And
Victor say when he first saw the mom?
It's Macaulay Culkin's mom.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
I forgot what he exactly said. He's like, he said something like, come get your son," or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's like,
Kevin, come get
yeah,
your mom.
Kevin, come get your mom.
No, yeah, I know who Dudley Moore is now that you mentioned that.
All right, are we ready for the plot, or my version of the plot, with you guys sprinkling things in? I was 25 minutes into this movie before I started taking notes. I was like, oh boy, whoops. Oh, that's how much I love this movie. I was just so invested that I completely forgot to take notes. So the movie opens up with a great like sky shot, which you originally think is actually a sky shot from outside, but it's actually a model. And we have Danny Elfman's wonderful score playing as we kind of get closer to the buildings and the trees and the model. And I love the theme song for this movie. Danny Elfman, perfect for these quirky movies. As we get the title card and we zoom in on the model version of the Maitland's house, we meet the Maitlands themselves, Adam and Barbara, played by Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis. They're a couple that just wants to enjoy a nice staycation. Adam owns the hardware store in town, which, to be honest, I did not realize that he owned that hardware store for the longest time when I saw this movie. I was like...
And Dan's like, he just goes in there and
Just-
buys stuff and there's nobody there. I'm like, he owns it.
Does he just steal stuff? Like,
Yeah.
what the hell? We notice that Adam is a model builder. He's building a model of the town, which is where is this? So I figured this is Connecticut, but what's the town called? Yes, it's in Connecticut. It's a small town in Connecticut. That's all I get. We also meet the pesky Jane Butterfield, who is the worst character in this movie. I can't stand her, but that's the point. She's annoying, and she's she's like the local real estate agent / interior designer / whatever other job she has.
Yeah.
She's trying to get the Maitlands to sell their house because it's a big house and it's just the two of them. And there's some jabs about how like they haven't had kids yet. She doesn't say it, but it's kind of implied. And you kind of get some, especially adults who watch this movie, kind of get a feeling that they've tried, it hasn't worked out. Adam and Barbara, so Barbara gets Adam a brush to because he's redoing some furniture, right? Like he's doing a couple things for the house, and so he's got to go.
The town is Winter River, Connecticut.
Winter River. So they need to go to town. They need to get some stuff from the hardware store that Adam owns. They go down there. It's so funny because they go over. So the bridge is really cool. I love the covered bridge, but it's so funny how close they live to town. It's like I would just walk.
Yeah,
like
right?
You could literally just walk to town. They're just like, let's get in the car. Let's go. We got to go on a drive. I love how they get to, there's a guy on the side of the road and they have to stop to say hello. There's no one there. No one lives in this town.
But if they walked, they never would have died.
That's true. That's very true. Then the movie just wouldn't have happened. They'd be like, well, that's it. That was a good short. They get to the hardware store. You got the guy who owns the barber shop who's just sitting out there talking to himself. Well, he starts a conversation with Adam, but Adam goes into the hardware store and he just continues talking. Adam grabs a couple things from the store. He leaves. They go back to town, or they go back home, and they're going over the bridge, and there's a dog in the road. No, don't hit the dog. They swerve to avoid the dog, and they crash through the side of the covered bridge. And this is where you get the great scene where the car's teeter-tottering, and the dog's just like on like balancing himself on the plank, and then he just walks off, and then ah! And the car crashes into the water. And this is where
Victor's like, this is not how this would happen. He's like, this is not how it works.
And my son's like, why didn't they just open the door?
Exactly.
Fell into a puddle.
I was like, they literally could have. But like we just talked about with them walking, we wouldn't have a movie if this didn't happen. So they wander home. And they're all wet, and they're all, and then things.
They don't wander home. They just appear home.
Yeah, they just appear home. Well, they walk through the front door. So like you're just kind of when I'm recapping like someone who's never seen this movie before. So yeah, like that's the mindset we got to be in. So like they wander home, they walk through the door, they're soaking wet. They're just kind of figuring out what the hell just happened.
Yeah, because they don't remember coming home.
Right. They don't remember actually getting there. They just walked through the door.
You didn't get my message.
And
It's okay.
and things are weird. The fire's lit in the living room, but they never lit it. They go to the fire to warm up because, of course, they're soaking wet from the river, and they put their hands out to warm themselves. And 2 of Barbara's fingers set on fire. I love that. It was a practical effect, of course. It was a wax. They pretty much dipped. They had like they dipped her hand in wax, like a thick layer of wax, and then they lit those 2 things. But it was so thick that it didn't actually cause any harm to Gina Davis, which I thought was fantastic. Adam tries to walk out because he's like, I don't even remember getting here. And then he tries to walk out the front door and he falls into the desert, into this vast wasteland of nothing. And we see this. Do we see the sandworm
Yes.
in the scene?
Just a little bit of it.
Yeah, it's like a barely anything. And then he gets pulled back in. And she's like, you've been gone for 2 hours. He's like, I just left. Like, I feel like I was there for 5 seconds. But no, he was there for 2 hours. So it's nighttime now. And they're just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. While Adam was gone, Barbara figures out, hey, we don't come over to the mirror. We don't have a reflection. So they look and she's got the horse, but it's just the horse floating there.
That's cool. I thought that was a good effect.
Yeah.
I thought they did a good job with that.
And then they show the handbook for the recently deceased. And I love how he's like, recently diseased. He's like, no.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so now they're trying to figure things out. Adam's reading the handbook and he's like, this reads like stereo instructions. This is it, like the way that things are worded is so confusing. Adam and Barbara are trying to figure out what to do now that they are dead, now that they pretty much figured out that they are dead. We meet our titular character. We don't see his face, but we see him sitting, reading through a newspaper. He's talking about how the sandworm like encounters are up by like 17%. And he's like, all right, 17%. Gotta go to the business section. And it's the obituary. And he looks through and he sees, ooh, the Maitlands. They look stupid.
Maitlands, huh? Cute couple. Look nice and stupid, too.
Yeah.
I never knew he said that until I watched it last night. And the subtitle said that. I was like, I never knew he actually says that.
By the way, thanks for the heads up on subtitles. We actually utilized that.
It was great.
It was nice.
We definitely did for the other movie.
Thank you, by the way, for that. Indirectly, Adam.
Every movie now that I watch, I have to have subtitles on. It just you pick up so many things because there's certain things like people say that are so low. You're like, what? But the subtitle will tell you. Because
I caught something from the other movie, and I was like, I didn't hear anything.
Or I'm like,
there was a subtitle that says,
"What other movie do you speak of?" Wait, that's not till next week. No, I'm just.
But
Listen,
it's
people, we have to record multiple episodes a week. Okay, we all have lives and jobs.
He makes us. It's bullshit. He makes us. We're being oppressed.
But it's like I never thought about using subtitles because I have a pretty good ear.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like certain things get said so low, and you're like, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, that got brought up in another movie we covered recently. You're like, oh, he said this. I was like, I didn't know he said that.
Yeah.
Oh, Jurassic Park 3, the river, Site B. Like he never said Site B. I've seen this movie 100 times, and like I didn't know.
I can think I used to watch a show that was like a crime show that was in a different language. So that was my first time ever using subtitles, and then I just couldn't stop afterwards.
Yeah, if it's in another language, definitely. Or if it's a different dialect, like any kind of like British shows, or they speak English, but they have that
accent.
They have that accent that you're just like, oh, what are they saying?
If I ever subtitled a British show for English audiences, if you turn on the British subtitles, everything would be spelled in British English just to be a smart ass. That's what I would do.
So we then meet the Dietzes. They bought the house and they are an interesting family. So this was when Butterfield there, what's her name? The real estate agent?
Jane.
Yeah.
When she goes to the house originally before the Maitlands die, when she's telling them about there's a family in New York or a guy in New York who really wants to buy the house. We figure out this is the guy who wants to buy the house. So we meet the Dietzes. Delia Dietz, who's a wacky artist played by Catherine O'Hara. Charles, a bird watching normal guy. What is he, an architect?
I think it's real estate, isn't he?
Real estate?
Maybe
I don't know. I never could figure it out in all the times that I've watched this movie. And their daughter, Lydia, played by Winona Ryder, a gothy, shadowy young girl who can see what others can't. We also meet Otho, who just starts climbing through the window randomly.
So
Why?
so weird.
Because,
Like,
it says going through the front door is bad luck. So he is played by Glenn Shaddix, as we stated before, who passed away in 2010. So R.I.P. He's another wacky guy. Was he an internal designer /
like interior designer?
Yeah, anything his mind comes to, that's what he is. He's an expert in pretty much anything. He reads one book, he's an expert in that thing. That's the kind of guy. And Adam and Barbara are not happy. So they need to try to figure out how to get this family out of there. They try to scare them with different tactics. Like, I love she's like, these effects are great. I love them. She's hanging in the closet, and they just kind of, and Otho just moves her aside. And then they walk into Charles's office, and it's her holding Adam's head. And
go ahead.
Well, they make mention earlier that rule number 2 is the living can't see them.
This is after the word. This is afterwards because they try.
Because they call out to Jane.
Yeah, because Jane shows up for their funeral. Yeah,
she can't hear him.
No, that's right. I forgot about the scene.
So they haven't quite figured out how to.
I also realized this was the point in time that this was when the rating system hasn't been amended properly, and there was no PG-13. Because this is not a PG film.
They said a lot
not remotely.
of F words.
Was there a lot? I thought there was only one. Was it? I thought Beetlejuice was
he
the
says
only
F
one.
word one time.
Yeah.
But they say other stuff too.
They do, but this is grab it to be a PG film.
I thought for some reason, when did the first PG-13 movie come out? I thought the Indiana Jones. I thought it was after Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. That's when the MPAA came out with PG-13, because Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom was PG, but because there was a lot of blood and stuff, they were like, yeah, we gotta change that. Which that came out in 1984, and this came out in 88. 88 seems far, like, I feel like it just did something wrong here.
But that's what they must have rated it way wrong.
They must have rated it wrong. I'll have to look that up, but
I mean, there's a lot of blood, a lot of.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of questionable things. I mean, you got to think, like, when they go to whatever the places where the dead. I don't, what do they do? Does this place have a name? Like, where they go to the offices when they go see Juno?
I don't think there is a name.
I called it the Dead DMV. Like, or RMV. Sorry,
that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
Because it's all like, if you need help, do this.
Yeah.
I don't think there was ever a.
So is this the one where they eat dinner? They're having dinner and they're having Cantonese or something, and that's when Delia is like making a big deal about it. And
we have Cantonese around here. Like, okay, thank you.
And then the next morning is move day, where they're like remodeling the house with some weird design. The production designer on this movie, Bo Welsh, later married Kathleen O'Hara. It's her now husband.
Really
interesting. Yeah. You just never know.
Yep. So they're remodeling the house. They're bringing in all of Delia's wonderful artwork. I love. She's like, "There's 3 sculptures. Where's the 4th?" She looks up. It's on a crane.
Yeah.
And then it traps her. I don't want to die for my own art.
My favorite one though was the first one that they brought in.
And the guy just throws it down.
Trying to. Yeah, she's like, put it on the table, and he just throws it, and she's all like trying to fix it, and I'm like, it doesn't make it look any better.
Oh man. And that's when Charles is in there. He's trying to make a coffee and trying to just have a relaxing morning, and then the one hanging on the crane just crashes through the window. And Barbara is just over it. She gets pissed, so she tries to leave the house, and she falls into the desert. And that's when the sandworm, we see the full face of the sandworm, how it's the snake within a snake. It's kind of like an alien, like a xenomorph with a mouth in a mouth.
Yep.
And she slaps it and it like whines, like whimpers.
Yeah. Wait.
I think I made that same thing out of Play-Doh when I was younger.
That's dope.
She gets mad before the mom, before the moving crew gets there.
Okay.
She gets mad before they start eating dinner.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so all that happens. The move day happens, and
I love her. I love her little, like, I don't know. It looks like a dinosaur bone to me, like some kind of dinosaur like rib cage or whatever, and it traps her in the house.
her. Like, I can't
She's
die
like,
for my own art.
Why are you doing this to me? This is my art, and it is dangerous. You think I want to die like this?
Jane gives Lydia a skeleton key that can open up all the doors in the house. Thanks, Thanks, Jane. Now you can leave. She's the worst character in this movie.
She doesn't show up again after this, right? I don't think so.
No.
No, that's it. Thank goodness.
Before
You need to get a bigger house for family.
Yeah. Before
Or a
all of
smaller
this,
house.
when Otho first shows up, he's walking through the house with Delia and he's like spraying different things and then,
Color.
discover it. Like that's when Barbara and Adam are trying to scare them and they don't see him and they try to get to the attic and they can't get in the attic because Adam ran his headless corpse runs up and locks the attic door so they can't get in there. So they get the skeleton. So Lydia gets the skeleton key and so she's like, well, I'm going to go up to the attic because she's outside taking pictures and she looks up and she sees Adam and Barbara standing in the window and then she looks away and looks back up again and they're gone. So she goes up there to try to open it. Adam and Barbara just hanging out in the attic and they're like, oh no, can't let them in. So they hold the door back and actually I feel like they're not doing a very good job trying to hide that they're there.
No, not at all.
So because they literally like she puts the key in and then Adam pushes it out with the sewing needle or whatever the thing was he had in his hand. And so that's when Adam decides that they need to go see whoever. They need to go to the RMV of the dead, as I'm going to call it in this movie because there is no name.
They see the Beetlejuice commercial first.
Oh, right.
Hey, folks, let me have a leading bioexorcist. Yes, there is. Come on down here, and I want to tell you,
Bioexorcist.
Then he reads in the book that he can just draw the door, and she thinks he's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, we see our first Beetlejuice commercial. Well, the only Beetlejuice commercial in the movie. And they kind of contemplate whether or not they want to summon him, but they're like, yeah, we'll hold off. We're gonna go to the RMV of the dead, talk to somebody. Somebody hopefully can help. They make the door and they go in. A lot of cool looking effects for the dead. I love all the different dead people waiting. Like the dude who's got the chicken bone in his throat.
Yes.
The guy who's hey, you want to smoke?
You want a cigarette? Oh, no, thank you.
And it's just like,
Yeah, I like that effect.
He's on fire.
I'm good. No, I'm trying to cut back too. And he's like,
Yeah.
does it matter?
At this point, doesn't matter.
Yeah, the secretary is what happened to her? Like,
She slit her wrists.
Right. Okay, she shows her. I thought it had something to do with her green skin.
Because she says if she
would have known
then what she knew now, she wouldn't have had her little accident. And she shows her wrists, but she slit them. They show them the wrong way, but you know, whatever.
That's not the point.
Beside the point.
We see. What were the other dead people waiting in the waiting room?
There was like the hunter guy that blew his head off, and he's got the
shrunken
tiny head.
Oh yeah, we see him again later. Oh yeah, he's got the shark like on his leg. That's great. I loved all the dead people waiting in this.
Wasn't there somebody that was somebody that was like in their sleeping bag and like a rattlesnake got into it?
Yes, and the rattle's like hanging out of the sleeping bag, and so they get a ticket. It's like I said, it's the RMV. They get a ticket when they're going to be in line, and then they come in. They're like, "You need your handbook," and of course they forget their handbook, and everybody's like, "Amateurs."
Who forgets their handbook?
Yeah. And the guy who calls him is a dude who got ran over by a big truck because he's just perfectly flat. And when they're going along, they're walking along him, and he's like, "How do I look? I can't see back there."
There's no mirrors on this side. Oh,
Yeah.
fine. Well, I don't know. I'm feeling kind of flat.
and then he just like, and then he just strings away into the little that little slit in the wall. So good.
I thought
Great.
I caught it this time around. I thought it was pretty messed up when they're after he goes in the wall, and then there's just the guy that's
Just hanging.
swinging by the noose, and he's
Yeah.
just throwing papers.
See, even something like that where
Yeah.
it's meant to be comical because they're in a place full of dead people. I'm surprised that this movie still has a PG rating because of just like that could have made it that could have made it R. Like this movie is in a weird position.
The slit wrists and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
This movie never would have flown today. Unless it
No.
was R-rated. It never would have happened.
So then they go into this weird like wonky hallway where they see there's a bunch of doors and they see like the lost souls or the exorcised souls.
That's the lost souls room. A room for ghosts that have been exorcised.
Yeah, it's the Lost Souls room.
Yeah, that's the dead. That's death for the dead, and we get the creepy janitor. Just like, yeah, you don't want to mess with that. They finally meet Juno, their caseworker. Now Juno is played.
did we ever find out how she died?
She slit she got her head or neck
She's
slit.
cut across her neck.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like it's like a purple area on her neck.
And
So
smoke comes out of it.
Yeah, I'm
That's how you know.
assuming that she got her neck slit.
Now Sylvia Sidney is who played Juno, and she lived to be 88 years old. She died in 1999. She is famous. She was a famous actress back from like the 20s.
Yeah, I remember seeing her in some movies.
I remember I looked up her IMDb yesterday while watching the movie, and man, she was a pretty lady. She was in another Tim Burton movie called Mars Attacks,
Yeah.
which is a weird ass movie. She played Grandma Florence Norris. But yeah, she pretty much is the caseworker, the dead caseworker for Barbara and Adam. She tells them that they need to get rid of the Dietzes themselves and do not summon him. Do not summon Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice used to be her assistant. That's pretty much all you get. He was once her assistant and he went to do his own thing as a
Doesn't work well with
bioexorcist.
others.
Yes, he doesn't work well with others. And yes, you definitely get to see that later. The next scene you see is a fly landing on the model, and it's Beetlejuice's arms coming out. He's like, "Hey, come on,
Come
Come
here.
here.
It's like a big old dragnut bar. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, and he grabs it. It's like, help me, I love it.
Wait, I think that fly is a really obscure thing. I think the fly yelling "help me" when he grabs it and pulls it in is a reference to the second Fly film from the 50s. Because I'm pretty sure there's a scene where in the first one, in the original Fly film, like the dude turns into a giant fly,
Mhm.
but like the second one, there's like this splice thing where he turns into like a little fly and gets caught in a spider web. And I remember there being a line where he's screaming like "help me" before he gets eaten by a
No.
spider. I'm pretty sure that's right.
Another idea we got to jot down: the original Fly and the Jeff Goldblum Fly.
Right? Brundle fly.
Oh my god, just nightmares when I close my. I love Jeff Goldblum, but that's nightmares.
Hey, actually, isn't the actress that plays the
Gina
main dead
Davis.
girl?
Yep, Gina
She's
Davis is
in
in
that.
that. Yep, she
So
is.
We just made our connection.
Wow,
There we go.
crazy.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yep.
I love bacon.
So they go back. They're like, okay, we don't need Beetlejuice. We're going to do this ourselves. So they pretty much just become typical ghosts. They just throw sheets over them, cut the holes in their eyes, and go around and just moan like, I love it though, because they do. They literally sound like people having sex. Like they're in the room trying to scare Delia and they're making moaning noises, and Lydia is over there like, come on, I'm a child. I don't need to listen to this.
Cut it out! Child, for God's sakes.
Adam's like, moan louder.
Charles is trying to get his business associate to check out the property in Connecticut. And I just love it where after he hangs up with the business associate, the guy in the city is just like putz. I love that word. Putz is what I love calling people putzes. Such a great word.
I don't know the origin of that term, but I've used it before too.
It's a great word. Lydia snaps some pics and discovers that Adam and Barbara are not trying to be ghosts. They are ghosts because she takes the pictures and there's no legs. But it's like, why do you have sheets? Like, what are you doing? And they're confused to why she can see him. She's like, because I'm kind of a weird person. I I accept things more than others. And I just
She read the book or whatever.
and she read the book, which helped out that whole situation. Lydia tries to tell Delia about Adam and Barbara, but she doesn't believe her because she's so busy. She's got to make a meal for 8 people. People coming. I need to make food. I can't be listening to your ghost stories. As Lydia shows her the pictures of Adam and Barbara.
You also find out that's her stepmom as well.
Yes. So
for whatever that's worth, I don't know if it has any real meaning at the end of the day.
I think they just don't get along very well.
Yeah, because Charles says don't do that to your mother, and like you try to at first you're like, oh, is she the mother? But then she states that she's the stepmother. You're like, okay, whatever. I don't care if it goes anywhere because I feel like the chemistry between the parents and Lydia, like I feel like she's not the kid, like she's not their kid. She's just there. Like the chemistry just is
never
right. It's they're completely
really
different people. Right. So Adam and Barbara are just like, well, I don't know what to do. Let's do it. Let's call Beetlejuice. And how do you summon Beetlejuice? Well, like Candyman, where you look into a mirror and say Candyman 5 times, you have to say Beetlejuice's name 3 times. But before they do that, they have a little conversation with him, as he is a little dude hanging out in the cemetery there, right? And they have the conversation. They ask him, well, what do we say? What do we do? And he can't say his own name, which again is never. I feel like you never know why.
I think it's a Rumpelstiltskin thing.
Okay.
I think it is because I'm pretty sure if he says his own name, if you make him say his own name, something happens to him. It's something like that. But anyway, go ahead.
That makes sense. So they say his name 3 times, and then they get shrunk down into the model to meet him. And he's in this wait, no. The model talk doesn't happen till after because they say his name and then they get shrunk down. Then they have to dig him out of his grave.
Dig him out.
The cemetery talk is later. Sorry. They have to dig him out of his grave, which is the model. So it's like the rubber grass and what is that? Plasterboard? What is that?
A particle board.
It's cork board. Yeah, particle board, cork board. Yeah. And they get him out, and he is a very, very perverted person. He is just all over Barbara. He's like pretty much ignoring Adam. He's trying to convince them to get them to help, or for them to get his help, and they're not about it because he keeps like touching Barbara inappropriately and saying nasty things. And so they both decided, this is not what we need. Screw this. So they get big again, and Beetlejuice is still saying things.
He kicks over the tree.
Oh, he's like, nice fucking model.
Nice fucking model.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Because he kicks over the tree, and then you see him picking up the tree and putting it back in.
Yep. Because that's the only time we hear. That's the one fuck we get in this movie. We then get Barbara and Adam trying to scare the family again, and this is where we get the dinner scene, where it's Delia, Charles, Lydia, and then Otho, and then these other people who I think it's Delia's agent, his wife, and then some random, very depressed woman. But yeah, so they're at the dinner table. They got shrimp cocktails all in front of them. And then, they're talking about different ideas and stuff like that. And that's when Delia stands up and she starts dancing. And everybody's like, what the hell is going on? Is there something in your drink? Like Charles is looking under the table and all that. And then everybody starts dancing. And it's so great. And at the end of the dance, you get the shrimp cocktails turned into hands, grab their faces and pull them in. And Adam and Barbara are super excited. They're like, man, they're going to be running out right now. Nope. They're actually excited because of the whole experience. Now they believe that there's something here and they want to profit from it. They want to make this a ghost town tour. They want to make money off of the ghosts. But the ghosts won't come down. They don't want to talk to these guys because this wasn't the point of this whole thing. So that's when they march upstairs to try to get the ghost to come out. and they break down the door and they go into the attic and try to get them to come out. They won't come out. That's when they discover the model, and then they're like, okay, let's go back downstairs. And as they're going back downstairs, that's when Beetlejuice shows up and turns into like a Beetlejuice rattlesnake. He takes the banister of the stairway, turns into a rattlesnake with Beetlejuice's head. He attacks everybody.
And Otho takes the book as they're leaving.
Yes, as they're leaving the attic, Otho steals the handbook, and Beetlejuice is pissed because Barbara comes out and says Beetlejuice, and which when he's active, if you say his name again, it kind of like summons him back to wherever he is stationed until somebody summons him again, which is so weird. So was he active because of the fact that Barbara called him originally and they never did anything?
I'm assuming that she called him afterwards because they meet up again, but you never hear her say that.
Yeah.
But then because he grabs the dad and drops him, and Lydia gets mad, and that's why that's when Barbara says his name 3 times, because she's kind of gotten feelings for the daughter where she can't have kids.
Yep. So I love the practical effects on the Beetlejuice snake.
Yeah,
I love his head with the snack he's got the fangs and the rattlesnake tail. He freaking hits Otho down the stairs. What is he doesn't do anything to Delia. She just runs away, right? She like goes into one of the rooms, and then it grabs Charles and hangs him over like on the second floor and drops him up. He's upside down, so he drops him on his head. He's fine. He's okay.
He's perfectly fine.
Walks it off.
I know.
walk it off.
The next scene, they're like, "Oh, well, no one was hurt." I'm like, "How?
How?
Charles
Dropped him
not
on his
dead or
head.
paralyzed." Okay. So Beetlejuice is pissed because Barbara said his name. He goes back to the thing, and this is where we get him going crazy, calling them losers and all that stuff, and he's saying a bunch of nasty things about Barbara, and that's when Adam picks him up and
Barbara picks him up.
Yeah, Barbara.
Oh, is it Barbara
picks
who
him up.
picks him up? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
So Barbara picks him up, and he grows spikes out of him. He drops him. He says a bunch of nasty things, and that's when a strip club just pops up out of nowhere. But yeah, so he goes into the strip joint, and Barbara's like, "Adam, you created that?" Like, no. And Juno is not too pleased with the Maitlands. She's like, "I told you to not summon him." And you find out that she's the one who created the strip club to keep him busy for a bit. just nasty.
This is also one of the better scenes with the dead people too.
Is it about the football players?
The football players.
Coach,
Where's the bathroom?
I don't.
it's like, "Your
I
coach.
don't think
I'm not your
that
coach."
crash.
Yeah, coach.
He survived.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
your coach
oh,
survived.
You think?
We should point out that Lydia's mad at. I don't remember.
Yes, because they thought
Lydia
that.
gets mad.
Mhm.
She had
Yeah.
something to do with what Beetlejuice did.
Yeah.
Yep. So we get Lydia. The next scene is Lydia. She's writing a suicide note to her parents or to whoever. And the Maitlands are coming up.
See, when you were asking earlier about what the town was, I was trying to think of that scene of her writing the note, because she writes the Winter River Bridge,
Oh yeah, because she's gonna
Right.
throw her.
but I
she's
couldn't
gonna-
think of what it was.
What did she say?
She
She
says
said she's not gonna jump,
She's
but
gonna
she's
do-
gonna. Plummet.
Yeah, she had to like cross it out and like put like fancier words.
Yeah,
So,
because she's fancy.
so the Mailers are coming up with a way to scare the Dietzes again, and we get more great stop motion effects.
Oh yeah.
We get Lydia finally meets Beetlejuice herself, and we get the charades scene with Beetlejuice trying to get her to figure out how to say his name because he can't say his name. So they got the big beetle that's like behind.
Turn around and look behind you. Hi, how are you?
How's it going?
Yeah, and it's Michael Keaton's voice.
Yeah,
Is coming out of the beetle. And then we get the juice pouring, and she can't get it.
Oh my god, she's like, "Beetle breakfast?"
Is it orange?
I know. I was like,
Beetle
really?
drink?
Yeah, Beetlejuice.
And this is this is the first time we actually see Beetlejuice in his iconic outfit. Because most of the other times we see him, he's in the trench coat, or he's wearing, I love it the first time we see him like fully, where he mocks Adam's outfit. He's got that big old beer gut.
Yeah.
So good. And right before she says his name for a third time, Adam and Barbara intervene and stop it. And
she's like, I need to talk to Barbara.
Charles gives a presentation, making the town into a ghost attraction. The head man just wants to see some ghosts. He doesn't care about anything else. Otho starts a seance, bringing Adam and Barbara back to the living. Are they dying again? I think so. So this is, I think, the callback, right? So they're dying again. So because they're being brought back and then they're becoming, so they're going to be the souls of the lost, or the exorcised souls, or whatever.
That's the lost souls room.
Lydia gets Beetlejuice to help, and that's when you get the great, I love it when she says to see, and then it's that last one where he brushes his shoulders. I was like,
It's showtime.
so good. He takes care of the guests, and now, so he comes up and he's like the carnival attraction. He's got the big arms with the thing around his head, and he's got bats on his little hat there, which just, I guess, a foreshadow to Michael Keaton then plays Batman the next year. I don't think.
Very true.
Directed
But he
by,
makes a deal with her. He has to make a deal with her.
yes, so she has to marry him.
Yep. He has. Yep.
For
She has
him.
to marry him, and he will stop it.
Yep.
Well, if he successfully marries someone, he's free from that people having to summon him, right?
Yes.
Yes.
He's like able to do whatever he wants, which is not good. He takes care of the guests by doing the hammer. What is that game called?
It's like a test of strength game.
Yeah. So they have both the rich city guy and his wife are standing there, and they're so happy, and then they both get sent through the roof of the house. Yeah. So good. And now it's wedding time, and it's great because like they all. The Dietzes are all like together, they're hugging each other and happy, and that's when Beetlejuice changes into his really bad red like tuxedo that he's got with the little floofies.
It's like the 70s.
Yeah. And Lydia has the dress as the same color, and then she gets like dragged over to him, and all these weird things are happening. Delia's sculptures are coming alive, which I love because it's more stop motion. I can't get enough stop motion. I love stop motion. So good. And they pretty much like corral the Dietzes. They like, one of them like wraps itself around Charles and sits him down. And then the thing that trapped Delia before against her house is the one that like wraps itself around her.
Yeah.
And in the fireplace morphs into like a doorway, and what comes out but a little alien man.
Right.
I just doesn't make any sense to me with the whole dead theme where the priest is an alien. Okay. That was the only thing where I was like, this doesn't kind of make sense to the theme, but whatever. I'm for it. The Maitlands try to say his name, but every time they try, he keeps throwing things at them. Like he would, she says his name, he throws a zipper, she unzips it, says his name, then he throws like a plate. Before that, he sends Adam to the miniature town, like he shrinks him down and he puts him there. Mm-hmm. So Adam's got to improvise. So he hops in one of his trucks, and I don't know how he can drive this thing. It's a toy, but somehow it's got an engine and it can go. And he drives this thing off of the model, and then Beetlejuice sends Barbara to the desert, back to the desert, where she corrals that sandworm. Yeehaw!
I mean, she slapped it the first time. So
yeah, this sandworm.
Really,
this sandworm saw her again. Was like, hell no.
Right.
Saddle me up. Tell me where to go.
So Adam. So as the preacher is about to say, like, I now pronounce you man and wife, which was funny. I love the whole thing where he's like, do you take this woman to be your wife? And he goes like, does the fourth wall break where he's like, do I really want to do this? It's a big commitment. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I can do it one time. Yeah. He goes back and he's like, yeah, let's move this along. And then he manipulates her voice, like saying, this is the man I love, and this is the only man I want to be with.
I'm Lady of Deeds and I'm of sound mind.
Yeah. And as everything is about to end, Adam crashes the toy car into Beetlejuice's foot. And then at the same time, Barbara comes crashing in, riding that sandworm like a horse, and it swallows Beetlejuice up. And the funny thing is she's on the back of the sandworm, and like, no joke, the next frame, she's perfectly standing next to Lydia. Like she wasn't riding on this giant worm.
Teleport.
Like, okay. And yeah, so the sandworm eats Beetlejuice, and we then get the next scene, which is, I don't know how much, does it tell you how much time goes by after the end? After that?
I think it's
I don't think so.
So it's Lydia coming back from school. She goes to a private school or the local school in the area. Who cares?
An all-girls school or something.
Okay, sure. She gets home, and I guess Adam and Barbara are her parents, or pretty much act more like her parents than her own parents. And she gets a treat since she got I love how it was like she got a C in science, and then Adam tries to be like the parent and is like, you didn't do any better in science. Give this to her. And it's her being able to float up in the air and dance. And who shows up in the background as ghosts but the football team on the stairs?
Yes.
I can't sing any of the song because of YouTube, but it's a great song. And then the final scene of the movie is we're back in the dead RMV in the waiting room with Beetlejuice, as he at first sits between a magician's assistant where she's cut in half. So one side of her is on one side is on the other. And, you know, Beetlejuice being Beetlejuice, he starts groping the leg and trying to peek under the skirt. And that's when the torso part fucking slaps him. And he gets all flustered. He goes to the next bench where he sits between the shrunken head man and a native who probably caused that man to get his shrunken head. And he looks at his ticket. It's like 4 million something. It's a huge number.
It's 9 something.
Oh, is it?
9 trillion, or it's a lot of numbers.
Huge number. And he looks up and it's only at 3. And he looks over at the native guy and he's got the 4. And he tricks him into getting it. And that's when
did you cause this?
Yeah. Like, that's good work. And then
look, I'm up next.
I love it though.
Elvis Presley.
Yeah. And he sprinkles the native guy sprinkles some dust on Beetlejuice's head, and we get the really, I think this is probably one of the worst effects in the movie, because you could see the green screen of his head shrinking, but it's so good. He's like, he's like, oh,
this might be a better look for me.
I think I can pull this look off. And that, everybody, is Beetlejuice. Ah, what a great movie. I love it so much.
Dan's like, I'm so glad that's over.
Great Spooktober movie. Like I said, this is a Spooktober month for the channel here. This isn't scariest movies we've ever seen, but it's our favorite movies to watch during spooky season. Next week, we're going to be talking about the 2008 movie, The Strangers, starring Scott Speedman. What a name.
I don't even know who the hell that is.
And Liv Tyler.
Felicity.
He was in the Underworld movies with Kate Beckinsale.
Oh.
He's best known for Felicity.
Yeah.
Ben something.
So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. After that will be my movie, which I'm not going to tell you yet. We'll tell you in the next episode.
Oh, Dubbies.
And then, like I said, for the last week of the month, we're going to have a special guest talking about a movie that is one of my favorite Spooktober movies. So I had to pick another movie that's my favorite, because the movie we're talking about with that person is one of my tops. So I get 2 this month. Yeah.
That's cheating, dude.
It's not cheating when this person just has good taste. Okay. Oh boy. Also, we're going to be doing TV reviews this month. Chucky comes out on October 15th, which is on a Friday. So we're going to be doing short, unedited reviews on every episode of Chucky. Also, there is a new show that just came out called Midnight Mass, which is the new show by Mike Flanagan, who did Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor. He just came out with a new show on Netflix, so I would love to watch all those. And if you guys want to watch it, and we can do a quick review on that show, because that looks pretty interesting. But yeah, we're going to be doing some TV reviews this month, which is going to be fun. And yeah, that's about it. I don't want to go into a huge rigmarole like I did last episode because it just adds more time and I have to edit these and it takes a while. So I hope you all had a good time watching. Like I said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Links for everybody here are going to be down in the description. Make sure you check out the podcast on all podcast services. They are available every single Friday. Thank you for all the support that you give to this channel. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube so we can get that 100 subs. We need our URL. The URL is too long. You can't find us. We need those subs, people. At the bottom of the pile, dude. Listen, we're not getting any money out of the subs on YouTube. This isn't Twitch, okay? It's free. Just click the sub.
That's true.
Click it. All right. Make sure to, if you want to have any input on next week's episode, or if you want any comments or anything, watch the movie. All right. Our opinions on these movies are our opinions. Make your own opinion. Yes. Go watch these movies. Create your own opinions. Go watch other shows about people talking about the same movies we talk about, because
why so many?
Why so many? What?
Why have 43 people watched the Jurassic Park 3 episode?
I don't know, man.
On
people
YouTube.
Love that Jurassic Park 3.
I guess like these guys got to have an opinion. Let's see what they got to say about it.
100%. All right, everybody. I am Brett Parker. That's DNA Gaming somewhere down there. And that's Adam Parker. We are Dissect That Film. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.